StudyIQ IAS, अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।
Hello, namaskar, namaskara, namaskaram, namaskar. My name is Pooja Divedi and I bring to you the daily current affairs fresh from the oven. Not only from the perspective of UPSC Prelims 2024, but also from the perspective of your mains examination. You ask how? Because certain concept-based questions are also being asked. Of course, more concept-based questions are also being asked. So we have crafted our episode and classes accordingly. Before I begin, I would like to inform you about a course that we are launching from the 19th of June onwards. These will be prelims to interview live classes from 6 p.m. in the evening. Not only you will be provided the correct guidance through classes, but also one-on-one mentorship along with study materials and a mains residential program for those who will qualify prelims 2024. All this just costs for rupees 60,000. But if you apply the code PDLive, this will be made available to you at 29,999 only. This will be a completely in English batch. There are many topics that we need to cover from the perspective of this examination, and this is just a matter of one day. One day news, so much, but don't worry, I'm here to help you out. So, first question is with respect to electronic voting machines. With respect to electronic voting machines or EVM, consider the following statements. The idea for EVMs was first floated in 1977 within the Election Commission. Each ECI and EVM has a serial number and the Election Commission can use it to track the location. And third is in 1982-83, an EVM was used for the first time in the Parur Assembly elections of Kerala. Let's see how many statements given above is or are correct. The first statement is definitely correct because for the first time ever, Election Commission floated this idea or proposed this idea of having an electronic voting machine to ensure that booth capturing election rigging doesn't happen. So first statement is definitely correct. And you know what? Why do we call EVM one of the most secure facets of the election is because not only the EVM machines but chips also have identification number. So location can be tracked easily. Second is also correct. And yes, in 1982-83, for the first time ever, in the Parur Assembly elections of Kerala, in 50 polling booths, this EVM was used. Although in 1984, the Supreme Court suspended its use, but due to certain amendments, we were able to use it again in the different elections. So all these three statements are actually correct. Now, these may seem very bulky statements, but as we saw, the Prelims 2023, it was bulky statements that used to scare you. And people got scared because of that. So do not at all worry about it. Once you know the history and the origin, you can easily answer this question. All three statements will be the correct answer. So why have I asked you this question? Because next year, the Lok Sabha elections are there. So paper trail machines and EVMs are being, investigated, and mock polls are being also constituted as a part of this only. So for elections in the Lok Sabha as well as state assemblies, this all is going to take place soon. That is why Election Commission of India wants to be get a head start, we can say. So EVM basically has two parts, which is control unit first and second is balloting unit, which is connected by a 5-meter cable. The control unit is called the brain of the entire voting system, entire EVM system. And the balloting unit is where you go into the booth and put your vote there, the name of the party for which you're voting and the symbol is there. But you have to understand that this will not work unless and until the officer who has the control unit doesn't press the button. That is why it is known as the brain of the entire voting system. So once this brain is turned on by the control unit, by the officer, then only the ballot system will work. Okay. Moving on, EVMs are produced indigenously. Remember that. These are not manufactured from abroad because we have to ensure the safety of the elections. And this is done by two PSUs. Which are these PSUs? Bharat Electronics Limited, Bengaluru, and Electronics Corporation of India Limited, Hyderabad. You know, an interesting fact about EVM is that many other countries also use the EVMs we manufacture, such as Bhutan, Nepal, and Namibia. Now, the software program code is written in-house, that means indigenously, because we have a problem with the manufacturing of the chip. The chip is outsourced. How? See, the software program code is written in-house and the program is converted into machine code. And then it is given to the chip manufacturer abroad, because we do not have the facility of manufacturing semiconductor chips at such a high and intense amount. So the secret source code is only accessible to few engineers. The engineers in the factory, they do not know which ballot unit or which EVM system is going in which constituency. Each ECI and EVM has a serial number. I have already covered this. And every microchip also has an identification number, and that is embedded into the memory, and the producers have their digital signatures on them. That means if the digital signature is tampered, if I try to tamper the chip, or if I try to introduce a new program into the chip, in both the scenarios, the chip will get destructed. So it cannot be tampered as well. The idea for EVMs was floated in 1977, and for the first time ever it was used in the Kerala Parur Assembly elections. But Supreme Court didn't like the idea. In 1988, an amendment was made to the Representation of the People's Act of 1951, and then we started using it again from 1989 onwards. And by 2001, almost all the assembly elections, state assembly elections, saw the usage of it. In 2004's Lok Sabha election, for the first time ever in Lok Sabha election, the EVMs were used in all 543 constituencies. All right. Now, the process of destruction of EVM is also very interesting. It is done in front of the chief electoral officer of the state or his representative inside the factory of manufacturer. All right. Moving ahead. The concept of the universal basic income fits the most appropriately with which of the following articles of the Indian Constitution? See, Article 14, 19, 41, 43B. Article 14 might confuse you because it talks about equality. But equality of income cannot be promised to everyone as a fundamental right. It should be from the state's perspective that we have to think. So fundamental rights can be out of the question. We have to think about DPSPs. And DPSP, Article 41 is the one which fits it the most appropriately. Let's know how. See, why this question has been asked, because the Chief Economic Advisor has said that there is no need for universal basic income because it won't give rise to equality but conspicuous spending. So we remember that the universal basic income, this concept was introduced in the economic survey of 2016-17. A full chapter was dedicated to it, saying that the government should provide a minimum basic income to everybody so that they can lead a standard life, they can lead a dignified life. This argued that UBI will promote liberty, provide flexibility in the labor markets, also efficiency in the government scheme, and the productivity of labor, and the most importantly, equality in true sense. But the schemes that the government already has, the UBI will work simultaneously with that. The schemes will not be prohibited. And according to Article 41, the state shall, within the limits of its economic capacity. DPSP has this recurring phrase. Why? Because at that time, we were a newly independent state. We did not have much economic capacity in our hands. So back then, from the economic perspective, it was all thought out. And development. Make effective provision for the securing the right to work, to education, to public assistance in cases of unemployment. So UBI emerges from here. Old age, sickness and disablement, and in other cases of underserved wards. Okay, so you have to remember which concept fits well with which kind of DPSP or fundamental duties or fundamental rights. I also asked a question about Foucault's pendulum. With which of the article of the Indian Constitution, specifically fundamental duties, does the Foucault pendulum, is congruent with, we can say. So Foucault pendulum is congruent with scientific temper, that is in fundamental duty. So these kind of questions could come, and you have to be ready for that. From south to north, arrange the following holy shrines in the correct order: Amarnath, Kedarnath, Bodh Gaya, Pushkar, Golden Temple. Why I asked this question? Because recently an avalanche was observed in Kedarnath, massive avalanche. Nobody was hurt, and Amarnath Yatra is set to begin. So Home Minister is stock taking of all the preparations. So for this, of course, you must be well versed with maps, then only you can answer this question. Although this is an old map, but this is a good map when it comes to pointing out such questions, such answers. So Bodh Gaya is here in Bihar. See, then we go to Pushkar in Rajasthan. First is Bodh Gaya, then is Pushkar because we have to go from south to north. Then we have Kedarnath here. After that, in Punjab we have Golden Temple, and in Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory we have the Amarnath cave. See, Vaishno Devi is over here. Alright. So first, of course, we have Bodh Gaya, then we have Pushkar in Ajmer, then we have Kedarnath, then we have the Golden Temple, and finally Amarnath. 34251 is the correct answer. 34251. Alright. So 34251, option D will be the correct one. Moving ahead to the other parts, let's talk about this question. We have to match the straits and which water bodies they are connecting. Strait of Hormuz, Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman, Strait of Gibraltar, the Atlantic Ocean with the Mediterranean Sea, Bab el-Mandeb, Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. These kind of questions are very recurring. Even in the recent years we saw them. So you have to be prepared when it comes to maps, and I will help you with maps as well. Don't worry about that. You can also look at the atlas on a continuous basis. On what premises? Whenever you see a news which is related to international happenings, you can refer to the atlas. Alright. So how many pairs given above are not correct? Okay. We have to remember not correct ones. Finally, if I want to tell you why do I ask you this question, because the first edition of India, France and UAE Maritime Partner Exercise has been concluded, and this was conducted in the Gulf of Oman. That is why. See, here is Strait of Hormuz, which is connecting the Gulf of Oman with the Persian Gulf. And this is the Musandam Peninsula. Musandam Peninsula belongs to Oman, and it is at the tip of the UAE. Remember that, because this could be a tricky question. Then we have Strait of Gibraltar, which actually joins the Mediterranean Sea with the Atlantic Ocean, but it separates Morocco of Africa and Spain of Europe. Alright, so this is also correct. Then we have Bab el-Mandeb here, southwest of Yemen. It connects Gulf of Aden with the Red Sea. These are important choke points, important for the patrolling and trading, and specifically for trading of oil. That is why these maritime exercises take place. All three are actually correct. So we had to answer which ones are not correct. None of the pairs are not correct because all are correct. So these could be tricky questions. You have to answer them, with much focus. Moving on to the next question. Which among the following is not one of the three primary objectives of the Chandrayaan-3 mission? It is set to be launched, likely to be launched in July. So that is why this is an important question. To demonstrate soft landing on lunar surface, to demonstrate rover roving on the moon, to conduct in situ scientific experiment, to develop its own fuel through green hydrogen. See, if you do not revise these kind of things, you will not be able to answer this question, honestly speaking. This is a really easy question, but if UPSC wants to confuse you and wants to check if you are revising or not, if you are well versed with the syllabus or not, they can throw certain things like this. Because green hydrogen has been much in the news. Why not develop your own fuel in another surface, not if Earth? See, that is why it is important to continuously revise. Option D is the actual correct answer, because soft landing was something Chandrayaan-2 was supposed to do, but it hard landed the lander and hence it was a partial failure. So the other mission, that is Chandrayaan-3, wants to achieve this. To demonstrate rover roving on the moon is also important, and conduct in situ scientific experiments because so many instruments have been attached. Option D here will be the correct answer. Moving on, ISRO is going to launch Chandrayaan-3 soon enough, although Gaganyaan is a little bit delayed. Chandrayaan-3 will be launched from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota, and the main objective is to land the rover on the moon. And GSLV Mark III, I have already covered that. GSLV Mark III rocket will carry it to the moon. Moving ahead, Chandrayaan-2 and Chandrayaan-3 are a little different. The remarkable ones, we'll count them. Chandrayaan comprised of Vikram lander, Pragyan rover and orbiter. Chandrayaan-3 will have only lander and rover because orbiter is already there. So communication will be developed through that. The new mission is being launched with lander hazard detection and avoidance camera, so that soft and proper landing can be made. This is a technical advancement whenever a landing is done in a soft manner. So that is why, in order to avoid the mistakes of the past, we are correcting it with the help of this system. Chandrayaan 3 has been fitted with 2 such cameras, while Chandrayaan 2 had only 1 such camera. That is why we had to pay the price. The propulsion module of Chandrayaan 3 mission will have a single instrument by the name of spectropolarimeter of the habitable planet Earth, that is shape. By the name of it, you can understand it wants to explore the possibilities of other habitable planets as well. Also, laser reflector array is being attached with the lander so that a passive experiment can be there to understand what are the dynamics of the entire moon system, lunar system. Next, consider the following statements. We have to see these statements because this kind of questions were also asked in the preliminary examination. Statement 1. In the ENSO neutral year, that means when El Nino doesn't occur. This is El Nino Southern Oscillation. I have covered this in one of my classes yesterday. El Nino has returned after 7 years. That is why I have asked you this question. In the ENSO neutral year, the warm waters of the Pacific are pushed to the Western Pacific Ocean, and the northern South American coasts have a decrease in fishing activities. This is ENSO neutral year. That means the warm waters are pushing towards the West Pacific Ocean. This part is correct in the ENSO neutral year, that is normal year. And the northern South American coast have a decrease in fishing activities. This is not correct. I will tell you how. Statement 1 becomes wrong in itself. Statement 2. El Nino year, northern South American region witnesses upwelling. Due to this, fish migrate towards the Central Pacific Ocean. If you know the concept of El Nino, you can easily answer this question because both the statements are actually wrong. So both the statements are incorrect will be the correct answer. Why? Let me tell you why. Why have I asked you this question? I have already told you. It's El Nino, which is child Christ or little boy in Spanish. It is a climate pattern. When this is supposedly Pacific Ocean. Climate pattern when the eastern part of the Pacific Ocean near the continent of South America warms unusually, and hence the atmospheric disturbances along with this creates a problem for all over the world. If here is the disturbance, here is the warming of the ocean, the most of the evaporation of water will take place here and most of the rain will take place here. This region is generally not used to rain, and rain should have taken place in Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, monsoon in India, but because of this disturbance, monsoon also gets disturbed. So it is the unusual warming of the surface waters in the eastern tropical Pacific Ocean, and El Nino is the warm phase of the larger phenomenon, which is El Nino Southern Oscillation. La Nina is also part of El Nino Southern Oscillation, but the name La Nina or the discovery of La Nina took place at a later year. That is why it is called ENSO. So normal year here, what happens that trade winds, when they blow, they push the warm waters here, and there is a lot of ascendance, a lot of upcoming of cold water. So there is upwelling. I have told you this. Because of upwelling, too much fishes are here. Why? Because nutrients also come up as the warm waters are pushed here. So this is the normal year. In the other phenomenon, that is El Nino Southern Oscillation, in which El Nino occurs, the trade winds become weak and the warm waters are here only. They are not pushed here. So that creates a lot of problem for the entire global system. That is why both the statements are actually wrong in nature. Next, consider the following statements. To provide fixed household tap connection to every rural household. To promote and ensure voluntary ownership among local community by the way of contribution in cash, kind and/or labor and voluntary labor. To empower and develop human resources in the sectors such as that of demands of construction, plumbing, electrical, etc. How many of the above mentioned statements are the objective of the Jal Jeevan mission? Again, many of you must read everything through, but they do not remember which is actually a component of which mission. If you revise these kind of schemes over and over again and also use intellect when it comes to connection, you can understand any mission will have the entire infrastructure in place, then only we can achieve some target. So all these things, three things are actually a part of the Jal Jeevan mission. Option, all three will be the correct answer. So Jal Jeevan mission, a report was actually requested by the ministry from India in order to understand what India is doing with respect to Jal Jeevan Mission. This report was requested from the World Health Organization, and World Health Organization has painted a good picture. What is this picture? Let us see. Till now, official figures are saying that 62% of the rural households have been provided with tap water connection. Almost 14 million dailies, that is disability adjusted life years from the diarrheal diseases, are estimated to be averted if India is able to achieve its target by 2024, which is given in the Jal Jeevan Mission, which will result in an estimated cost saving of up to $101 billion. So Jal Jeevan Mission is under the Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation, Ministry of Jal Shakti, and this mission was launched on 15th of August 2019 to provide tap water, of course healthy tap water, to every rural household by the year 2024. So we are actually having many objectives, such as to provide tap connection to every rural household, prioritize provision of these in Anganwadi, hospital, school, to monitor functionality of these tap connections. That means just do not fix the tap and go away. See that these are functional. Many other objectives are also there. So you can read it when the PDF is provided. Moving ahead. Now, if you want the PDF, as I told you, you can connect with me on Pooja Dwivedi StudyIQ. This is my Telegram channel. And if you have any question, you can contact me on Instagram as well. I will help you out. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching.
StudyIQ IAS. अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।